The sinking of the RMS Titanic on April 15, 1912, is one of the most tragic and well-known maritime disasters in history. The loss of over 1,500 lives has been the subject of countless books, articles, documentaries, and even a blockbuster movie. However, there are a few who believe that the search for the Titanic was not just about finding the wreckage of a sunken ship. According to the conspiracy theory, the real reason for the search was to cover up a nuclear incident that occurred in the North Atlantic in the early 20th century. In this video, I will explore the origins and evidence of this theory and provide my own analysis of its plausibility. The theory that the search for the Titanic was a cover-up for a nuclear incident has its roots in the Cold War era. It is believed that in the early 20th century, the United States and its allies were conducting secret nuclear experiments in the North Atlantic. This was done in order to gain an advantage in the arms race with the Soviet Union. According to the theory, one of these experiments went wrong, causing a nuclear disaster in the area where the Titanic sank. There are several pieces of evidence that conspiracy theorists cite as proof of the nuclear cover-up theory. The first is the fact that the Titanic was sunk in the same general area where the alleged nuclear disaster occurred. Proponents of this theory argue that the government used the sinking of the Titanic as a smokescreen to distract people from the nuclear incident. This would explain why the search for the Titanic became such a priority for the government, even though the ship had been lost for almost 70 years. Another piece of evidence cited by conspiracy theorists is the fact that the search for the Titanic was conducted by the U.S. Navy's Deep Submergence Unit. This unit was established in the 1960s and was responsible for exploring the depths of the ocean. It is believed that the unit was formed specifically to search for the Titanic, which further supports the theory that the government had an ulterior motive for finding the ship. Finally, there is the issue of radiation. Several reports have surfaced claiming that radiation levels in the area where the Titanic sank are abnormally high. While this could be explained by natural sources of radiation, conspiracy theorists believe that the high levels of radiation are evidence of a nuclear incident. They argue that the government has suppressed this information in order to maintain its cover-up. While these pieces of evidence may seem convincing to some, there are several flaws in the theory that the search for the Titanic was a nuclear cover-up. Firstly, there is no hard evidence to support the claim that a nuclear experiment went wrong and caused a disaster in the North Atlantic. While it is true that the US and its allies conducted secret experiments during the Cold War, it is much more likely that any such experiments would have been conducted in a remote area, away from shipping lanes and populated areas. The fact that the Titanic sank in the area where the alleged nuclear disaster occurred could simply be a coincidence. Secondly, there is no evidence to suggest that the sinking of the Titanic was used as a cover-up for a nuclear incident. While it is true that the US government was keen to find the wreckage of the Titanic, this was likely motivated by a desire to recover the ship's valuable cargo and artifacts. The government may also have been interested in preserving the site as a memorial to the victims of the tragedy. There is no evidence to suggest that the government used the search for the Titanic as a smokescreen to distract people from a nuclear incident. Finally, the issue of radiation is not as clear-cut as conspiracy theorists make it out to be. While it is true that radiation levels in the area where the Titanic sank are higher than normal, this could be due to any number of natural factors. Additionally, there is no evidence to suggest that the government has suppressed information about radiation levels in the area. It is much more likely that the government simply has not conducted extensive studies on the issue due to a lack of resources and interest. In conclusion, the theory that the search for the Titanic was a cover-up for a nuclear incident is not supported by the available evidence. While there are some pieces of evidence that could be interpreted as supporting the theory, there is no hard evidence to suggest that a nuclear disaster occurred in the North Atlantic or that the search for the Titanic was used as a cover-up for this disaster. While conspiracy theories can be entertaining, it is important to remember that they are often based on speculation and conjecture rather than hard evidence. The true story of the Titanic is tragic enough without the need for sensationalist conspiracy theories.